Binary Star Gaming is your gaming network. Stay up to date on the latest gaming news and play games with us by joining our Discord today.
And I voice a lot of characters that will live on in our memories or in Chibi.
Hi, I'm Miles Luna. As voice acting goes, I play Jean-Arc, Felix, David. Jesus, I'm tired.
I voice Neris in Cam, Jensen in Red vs. Blue, Orf in the late grade X-ray bag. And I also have a little role on Fairy Tale as Cosmos.
Hi everybody, I'm Shannon McCormick. I was looking around, I realized I am the ranking member of the voice cast. I have been doing voices for Rooster Teeth for 11 years. And my roles keep getting smaller and smaller.
Hi, I'm Jen Brown. I play Pyranicus on Ruby. Also Lisa Lavender, my personal favorite. Agent Caroline on Red vs. Blue. Erin on Camp. And I also do a little voice on No Out of Nowhere, but that hasn't come out yet. I was on X-Ray Web for like a short period of time. I had a little small character with one off diamond, and diamond. Yeah, I think that's and Ruby Chibi. Hey, I'm Elizabeth Maxwell. I voice Agent Ohio in Red vs. Blue. Yes! Richard Schnee and Ruby. Scout in No Out of Nowhere.
Hi, I'm Michael Jones. I voice some fun little characters, Sutton Wukong. Precocious little scamp, Max and Camp. Moldar, X-ray and Bab. And the head moonball operator in Achievement Hunter. In the show Fairy Tale.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Jones, and I play Ruby Rose in Ruby. I play Vanessa Kimball in Red vs. Blue. I am Space Kid in Camp. I am Hilda in X-Ray and Bad, rest in peace. And now, I guess it's officially been announced, but I'll be playing Razzle in Genlock. Hi, I'm Samantha Ireland, and I know who I play. Nora. I used to play CT in Red vs. Blue. And if you don't know this, but I play all 3 of the Black Scouts in Camp.
We had some really fun cosplayers this weekend. I don't know if you saw the locker room and everything. Yeah. Hey! Shout out to all the cosplayers, by the way. It's been a fantastic week. You guys are amazing. because we are going to do some Q&A here in a little bit, but because it's usually like one of the first questions that comes up is, how did you get started in voice acting? What was it like the very first time you were in the booth for Rooster Teeth? And then what would be like your top tip that you would pass along to somebody if they were trying to get into the business?
What was the first one?
So Sam, how did you get into the biz? What was your very first gig, or do you remember what was like the first time that you did voices for Rooster Teeth?
Well, it's the same thing. Rooster Teeth had an open casting call a couple years ago. I think it was back in 2011, and that was my first one. I hadn't done voice acting. I didn't actually realize that the audition was for voice acting. I thought everything was for live action, but I was wrong, and because I was like, man, that's badass. I'm like auditioning for freelancer. I was like, look at me. No, it was just for voice. So I auditioned for Carolina and CT during then, and I was able to book CT, and that was my first time voice acting too. I come from theater, so theater all the way. So that was my first experience with it. Voice acting was with Rooster Teeth. But it was a different atmosphere than it is now. It's so different. It was just Bernie in a booth, and that was it. So it's definitely changed over the years. And
at least you didn't have to record in his closet, though. You can't.
I know. I did not do that. That would be strange. I'm pretty sure my husband would be like, "Why are you going to a strange man's closet?" But it was my first professional experience voice acting. It's still like very professional. But yeah, like nowadays it's like, man, it's a sweet suit, and like we get to go in and everyone's there with you in another room. So that's it. I'm done. I was there with Sam at that production. We were right next to each other. That's how Jen and I met. Yep. And I remember thinking, oh my God, she's so good. No, I thought that. There's no way. Well, and that's what she thought. I heard you audition for Carolina. I was like, there was only like 2 lines, too. Yeah, there was only 2 lines. Well, she sounds badass. And then it was like a huge role. I was like, man, she got it. That girl for me totally got it. And you did, and now we're like really good friends.
They're desperately trying not to hug each other across the table right now. we are twinsies unintentionally. We both have little embroidered dresses.
Me too. I was going to tell you that.
For me, it was very similar. The Rooster Teeth is the first time that I ever had any voice acting experience at all. I grew up 15 minutes away from Funimation, and I was like, wow, that'd be awesome to get into voice acting. But I was like, yeah, Lindsay, be real, that's never going to happen. Okay, cool. So when Monty approached me and said, hey, I want to make an anime, I was like, that sounds awesome, let's do it. He was interested in me auditioning for Ruby, Blake, and Kira, actually. So he brought me into the booth and just kind of wanted to make sure that I could perform in the way that he wanted me to. So he decided to settle on Ruby, and from there, the rest is history, really.
Voice acting, but I never really pursued anything. You know, I was big into video games and you know, like voiceover and I don't know if you knew that. But it was just something cool. You know, I'd always watched it growing up, but not until you know, getting to Rooster Teeth again. I had no furniture in my apartment, so I would just live at the office all day, and the only other person there was Monty, and he was telling me about the show, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna be in it. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I'll audition. He's like, yeah, you can audition. You know, I had a pretty like distinct voice, and I guess like my experience before that was a lot of Xbox Live party chats, really unpleasant messages to people after a game of Halo 2. I had it coming. Yeah, it just started from there, where then we started the show, and they made Monty do auditions. So he's like, all right, you have to do an audition. And I walked in the booth, and I was like, okay, so he's like, all right, you got one. Yeah, and I've just been lucky enough to work at Rooster Teeth since then, and improve on that, and actually do a bunch of other characters.
Austin, and very aggressively marketed myself to anybody within like a 50-mile radius who would hire me. Well, I guess higher than that, because I went after Funimation. And eventually was lucky enough to get to audition for Attack on Titan, and that was one of my first voiceover roles. And then I was also lucky enough to have a mutual friend with Greg Cohen, and they were like, you know, there's some Attack on Titan fans over at Rooster Teeth. You should go take a tour. And I was like, teeth of the what? So I went over, I took a tour. I was like, there's something going on here that I don't know about. That's really fucking badass. And was lucky enough to land the audition for Ruby. And that was my beginning with Rooster Teeth. And I've never looked back. Here. I ran a theater company in Austin for 6 years that was very successful, called Vestige Group. I was very focused on doing a lot of theater stuff, and then, I guess about 9 years ago, I was like, you know, I should probably, try voiceover and film, and the other aspects of acting as well. Be a little bit more well-rounded than just theater. And I started realizing very quickly how well voiceover worked for me. I'd always been that kid that did voices constantly. I just didn't think about going into voiceover until, I'd already been acting for a while. And I was like, duh, why hadn't I thought about this? And the Rooster Teeth was the first big voiceover audition I went on, and I landed it, and I was like, oh, okay, great, this is awesome, I'm gonna keep auditioning. And then I started working for DC Universe Online, and I've been working for them doing various voices, including Harley Quinn, for about 6 years. Harley was like my dream role, so it's pretty nuts that I get to do that in even a small way. So yeah, I started in theater and then came into Rooster Teeth and got lucky enough to get into all these lovely people and make a lot of great work, and just continued working with other companies as well. It's been nice.
So I'll kind of tackle the how'd you get into it with also the advice part of it, or like how you get into voiceover and voice acting. And it's going to be different for everybody, but like a lot of these folks, I came out of the Austin theater community, and my first voice acting gig was back in 2001. There used to be a satellite studio of ADV here in Austin called Monster Island, and that studio was like basically it was a three-man shop, and I think that the main office in Houston would farm out various projects, and that three-man shop was run by three like experimental Austin theater artists doing the translations, and then the sound engineer and the director, and they just brought in everybody that they knew from the Austin theater community. So I got an audition and a gig that way. And so I was in Get Backers and Wedding Peach way back when.
Yes! I watched Wedding Peach, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I played like the weird Salvador Dali time clock guy, if you remember that episode. It's like one episode. And then a few years after that, this was back when Rooster Teeth was like 7 employees, and Asaf Ronan was like, who voiced the counselor, was working as a contractor doing some freelance graphic design for Rooster Teeth, because again, they had like 7 employees. And this was when Recovery 1 was getting off the ground, and they were like, we are just a bunch of game dudes, we can't do, we need real actors to come in. Asaf. So when you're like, hey, I don't have any real actors, I know, I'll ask the contract graphic designer if he knows anybody. And he did though, because they asked me because Asaf is an improv guy, and so my improv partner Shayna Merlin came in and we auditioned for Wash and South together, and I think we might have been the only people to audition together, so we were kind of a lock. So we got the role, and I thought Wash was going to die after 4 episodes, and that's 11 years later, and I'm still here. But my advice to everybody, if you're like, I don't know what to do. I want to do voiceover, but I just live in this small town, and what do? My advice to you is like find your local theater community, find your local improv community, find your local bunch of art weirdos, and hang out with them, and don't be a dick, and get recommended for gigs, because that's how I've gotten all my gigs. So. Even though sometimes I feel like I'm a dick.
Luckily, we just knew Monty, and he liked us and wanted to cast us. And it was funny, before I even officially auditioned, the Red trailer came out that had all of our names on the end screen. And I remember, I think there was some arguments that were happening with Monty and some of the producers on the show being like, we didn't audition these people, their names are on the credits, what are we supposed to do now? So thanks, Monty, for doing that. But yeah, with Yang, when I first auditioned, I had never voice acted before. And Miles and Carrie probably remember this, but when I auditioned, I felt like voice acting, I had to be changing my voice in a way. Because that, in my mind, was what voice acting was. I didn't realize it could just be your normal speaking voice, just exaggerated. So I actually first read Yang a little higher pitched. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah, I remember just being like, you don't have to do that much. It was like that scene from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where you're out like, everybody's like, no, do nothing. No, do nothing, you're doing too much, do nothing.
I did a couple other takes, but just in my normal voice, and they ended up liking it, so I got the parts. That wasn't the only role at Rooster Teeth that kind of luckily fell into my lap. The other one was Jensen, because...
Well, no. That did not fall into your lap. I saw the video and was like, I need this voice.
Well, that's what I mean. So when I was in college, and I was staying up way too late studying, and I was kind of loopy, I decided to make these videos with a character that I created named Jackie Mittens.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
But,
She talked like this, and she was really excited about everything.
And her hair was up.
yeah, and I put like a bunch of like little clips and berets in my hair.
You're like the Irma Gerd.
Exactly. And I showed those videos to Miles, regrettably.
Yeah, we were working really late on season 11 of RVB, and I saw that, and I like laughed with tears in my eyes due to just like hysteria and sleep deprivation. I was already trying to think of characters for the lieutenants for season 12, and I was toying with the idea of a nerdy one, and I was like, well, there she is.
Ready for battle, in the flesh.
That was
Sorry, I spat all over.
No. It's funny, that's a great segue into, because the reason her name was Jensen was because that was the name that I thought would be funniest to say with that voice. Jensen!
And you had to give her the commanding officer a
Simmons.
Yep. I constantly, like, every Jensen line is written with the intent to make it difficult for you to say. Sorry, sir. There's Jensen here.
Just front rows aren't closer.
I'm quite damn proud.
A splash zone.
Yeah, just to finish up, it kind of like opened the door to do more auditions at Rooster Teeth and more voice acting in general. That's what led to auditioning for Funimation and getting a role on Fairy Tail, and then also getting to audition for Camp and other shows that we're doing. So it's just been a really nice way to break into it.
I can't speak super academically to her because I also was just incredibly fortunate to be in the right place at the right time and have the ability to do some silly voices for Jean and stuff. But I guess if I were just to give any advice, it's don't be afraid to look dumb. Don't ever be afraid to look dumb. You do whatever you have to do to get that character right. I voiced Felix, the ruthless, badass killer mercenary. I'm not that. I had to go in and pretend like I was, and just forget the fact that you're whoever you are. You're going to be someone else when you go into that booth for a little bit, and don't be afraid of how you look.
Wait, I chop my hand off every time I record for
So, hopefully this actually sounds familiar. Well, then my agent called and said, well, hey, you know, I don't know if you want to do this. This might not be your bag. You can't get a lot of other people interested in it because they'd rather go do the gigs actually pay. And, you know, maybe do you want to do this thing called anime? And I said, heck yes. And that's why I started doing anime. So can go look online, just did a bunch of stuff in the 90s and aughts and whatnot. And then, as far as Rooster Teeth is concerned, my very first gig for Rooster Teeth was replaced by the guys from Smosh. Hey, oh, man, it'd be great for these soldiers. Come here, do the comic bit. Yeah, cool. Oh, hey, Smosh is visiting. They'd be totally great. Maybe we should have them record for that. And which happens in the industry sometimes. You gotta get ready for that. And then, as far as Ruby was concerned, I've been doing VFX and editing on a whole bunch of projects, and I've been working with Monty, and then one late night on RVB10, Monty said, hey, I just kind of realized you were the guy from like Rurouni Kenshin and some other stuff. Yeah. And his question was, what are you doing here? And he said, yeah, well, I was working on a project called Ruby, and I got something in mind, we'll talk later. And that's all that ball got rolling. In terms of advice, yeah, kind of like what Miles was saying, and Shannon as well, in terms of meet other people in your area, and and don't be afraid to be silly and push yourself outside your whatever feels natural. You're gonna have to do some crazy things from time to time, and just don't be afraid. But lastly, go get like a USB mic off of Amazon for $20-$30 and get a pair of headphones and just get used to listening to yourself and playing around with your voice. And it's gonna take some time for that to stop feeling weird. Yeah, it's gonna feel weird. Everybody feels that way, don't worry about it. And just keep going. And then once you've kind of done a bunch of voices, hopefully you can start hitting the record button. Put little snippets of that together, like 5-10 seconds of this or that voice, put them back to back and put it online. Congratulations, you just recorded a demo reel for the first time. And that's the first time that we're gonna do it. So, like barrier to entry in terms of, you practicing and the methodology for getting what you sound like out there has never been easier. So don't let that be the thing that holds you back. Even, a first pass, rough draft iterations could be better than you not doing it at all. So get started. The other thing, one of my favorites is something that I did during high school is you can also donate your time to charity. There's, back when I was doing this is before audiobooks were quite so easy to get around, but there's still a whole bunch of ways you can contribute. What I did was I made audio recordings of comic books for the blind, and did all the voices and stuff like that. So go find your local center.
If you want to work on your range, I've discovered as a parent, one of the best ways to work on a variety of voices is to read comic books and do voices for all the different characters, because you like to keep them distinct. It's like, oh man, I read Bone to both of my children, all of them, stacked, and dude, that's the best voice work I've ever done. And it was just in my kid's bedroom.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to do a little exercise right now. They don't know that we're going to do this, but I figured before we jump into Q&A, I need a little help from the people here on the front row. We're going to read a scene from Ruby. Yeah, they're like, what the hell did we sign up for? Here's the thing. They can't do the character that they do for the show if they happen to do something for Ruby. So I need you to tell me who should voice Ruby Rose, besides Lindsay. So then what you guys can choose is whatever voice you want to do. You can either, like if Michael, for example, wants to take a shot at doing Ruby herself, he can do that. Or if he wants to do like, what if Max were reading the part, or whatever. You guys get to decide however you want to play it.
Right.
Cool?
Yeah.
This is gonna work, I think? Maybe? I'm making this shut up. Cool, Max. Barb is Weiss.
I'm rich.
How about good?
Shannon.
No. Yank?
Miles.
And how about John?
I want to do a shoe for Dad.
So Sam? Yeah, so Sam's gonna play John.
Yeah!
I'm so happy to see the cat farmers and the dog getting along so well together. But who do you think should do Nora?
The dog.
Elizabeth? Pyrrha?
Lindsay.
And over here, who should do Ren? Who's left? Yeah, I'm sorry. Jen. All right, so Jen for Ren. Jess, you approve? Cool. All right. All right. That'll work out. Process of elimination is happening.
Great, who's like
And
Pyrrha?
We're doing Pyrrha. Skip Pyrrha somehow?
No, I think I'm playing Pyrrha, I just couldn't hear.
Right. Yes.
Wait.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
So here you guys go. Touchscreen.
Wait, and then we do their voice action.
However you want to do it. However.
Find the role.
Can we do a check so you know? I'm playing here.
Twice.
Yang.
Ren.
Nora!
Ruby!
Cool. It's touchscreen. I'm gonna read you guys in. Yang, you're gonna have the first line. All right. We're gonna decide how this is gonna work. I apologize in advance.
Boy, my range is really rough today. All right.
Yeah.
My voice isn't that high.
You're right. I have an idea.
So everybody.
Thank you, everybody, tonight.
Okay, so this is the first episode from Ruby Volume 3. It is exterior fairgrounds, Simple Walk, day. Team Ruby sits down at the portable version of the Simple Walk from Volume 2. I haven't read this.
All right.
So,
I'll add a bowl of the regular, please.
I'll take the same.
sure, another giant bowl flops down on the table. Mike looks over.
Do you have any pineapple salt?
Bam! Another giant bowl.
Okay.
Blake and the chef make eye contact. She nods, and he knows. He slaps out another bowl. Weiss hands over her credit card. They all look to her happily as the chef walks to the register.
Oh, Weiss, what's the occasion?
And the team looks happily to their bowls. It's been a good year. Just as they begin to dig in, swish! Weiss's credit card ninja stars in and sticks to the table between Blake and Weiss's balls. Blake's star eyes pop. Shopkeep. Ooh, there's his throat. Girls look to shopkeep. It flashes the word decline on the register.
What? How come my card be declined? Those barely into my monthly allowance.
Shopkeep takes back Blake's bowl. She gasps, longingly outstretches her arm after the last food.
Maybe I could help.
Which is when Team Juniper walks up to the noodle shop. Here is card in hand. Weiss stares down at her card, embarrassingly confused, but Ruby throws her arms into the air. Blake looks desperately and ferociously at Yang. But she could.
Well, I think you all earned it after that battle.
Mine was vagina.
Cut to, time has passed, and there are now 8 empty bowls on top of the countertop of the Simple Walk, and Ruby and Juniper sit in various positions at their stools, all full to the point of bursting. Ren picks his teeth with a toothpick. Jean is especially stuffed.
Are you sure it's wise to have eaten before a fight? Of course. It will give us energy.
Which is with Nora. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like if I barf, I'm blaming you. Aim it at the enemy.
No, that's disgusting. we should be off.
So, you think you guys are ready?
Of course, we've got a world-renowned fighter on our team who's basically a ninja. I can bench press 5 of me. John's were training all year. Our weapons are awesome. Linda barely yells at us anymore. John.
Are you gonna take that?
Well, she's not wrong.
I'm kidding. He knows I'm kidding. Don't be so nervous. The worst that could happen is we lose. Then it's just a few more years of walking around school with everyone knowing we're failures, and our friends will slowly abandon us to preserve their social status. We won't be able to show our 5 lesson classes and hope they're with us in the gap period.
Team Lucifer, that's really funny.
Dora groaned and slammed her head down into the table, joining John.
So, yeah. We're feeling pretty good. Don't fret. If anything, we should be looking forward to a fight with actual guidelines and not murders.
Yeah, don't sweat it. We've all faced way worse before.
I need to go back and watch this episode now.
He sounds like this at the end of every RTX. Blake counts her fingers.
Let's see. Grim invasion. Violent extremists. A destructive sociopath.
And that's all while we're still in training. Imagine what it'll be like when we graduate.
Maybe it's all real face for a meal.
It's so much sadder in that voice.
An announcement blares on the fairgrounds PA.
Would Team Juniper please report to the battlegrounds immediately?
Yes, we were scheduled to 7 minutes ago.
It looks like this is it.
Go get him!
And Steve. And if that doesn't inspire you to join the voice acting,
That was maybe the best Joel impersonation I've heard in a long time.
I haven't had nearly enough coffee today.
I can't wait to voice the next volume of Ruby.
Who's with me?
I'm so happy you're back.
I missed you, Johnny.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you guys doing over there? It's like 3 ends over here.
This is my game! That's this is my friend!
Wait. This is giving me an idea. What's like everybody's favorite funny voice to do on this game? Oh. What? Like funny voice
Just like
in general?
nothing to do with research. What's just one of your favorite voices that you do all the time?
Oh, this is fun.
It's been a while, but I used to know a pretty good Marge Simpson.
Does a baby crying count?
Yeah, do it. Oh,
Hey, somebody left the baby over
Sam was cringing so hard during that whole thing.
Around the house, I like to throw my over-allergic kid a lot. I have one too. It's really funny. Everybody has like some version of like my allergy kid. It's always been funny. I have one too. I love this voice. It's really enjoyable. And you could always get a lot of really gross vocal fry. I
want to know if anyone would ever subscribe to a Barry White ASMR channel.
I don't know what voice it is, but sometimes I just like wander around my apartment going, oh yeah. It's like a really like fabulous moment.
Oh God, my ears. Oh God, my ears.
Well, I already did one, but
I have a couple that I go to. One is you just heard me doing for Kira, which is literally just like the movie phone voice, like, hi, thanks for calling. Wow, I'm white.
Oh God.
The other one I like doing too is just a dumb, like, I'm nervous and shy. So it's like, okay, how's it going, guys? Okay, that's fine. You don't have to talk to me or anything. That's fine.
You're leaving out the best one.
Michael loves my Al Pacino impression. It's horrible. It is so bad. Michael will say something sassy to me, and I go, oh, okay. You want a piece of this? One that I slip into a lot, and most of my friends will absolutely agree that I do this. I can't help but do the cozy. Hey there, hello there, how's everybody doing there? Cozy there. It's my favorite one to do. I don't know.
Oh, hey, Coach Z, get the hell out of here, dude. What's wrong with that? Check it.
Hey, there's strong bad. Yeah, I don't know what.
Come on there, fool, guys.
It's funny that you did that. It's like my go-to, especially whenever I do any sort of like improv scene. I have a character that's always smoking, and a lot of people equate it to Elise's character in Twits and Crits. I'm like, hey, what are you talking about? And I'm just like constantly ashing a cigarette. Listen, we gotta brainstorm this new movie pitch that we're gonna be doing. It's no voice. It's just like a stupid impression of someone who's smart.
I'm a big jazz fan, so when you watch jazz documentaries, they always talk to these guys who are like bebop legends from like the 40s and 50s, and they've all like destroyed their voices in nightclub. And so like, everybody, like Miles Davis used to talk like this. You barely understand a word he was saying. It's just like, what the fuck happened to his mother?
It's gonna be
Basically, Miles Davis with the RTX everything, he sounded like Miles. Miles Davis, Miles Luna, they're the same guy.
so I'm thinking shit.
I have this one more. So I went to New York City in high school for like a little trip, and the tour guide, we did one of those double-decker buses. I really loved the way that she spoke. And she talked about the Chrysler building all the time. I passed by it so often, and it was sparkling like a diamond in the sky. She's lived with me in my heart for so long. And my husband's from Connecticut, and he hates that voice that I just was like, shut the hell up.
Fun to talk like that, though. It's so fun.
Oh my God, it was gorgeous. The Chrysler.
There's like diphthongs inside a diphthong. It's a triphthong. There's like 3 of them. It's beautiful.
All right, we got a little time left. Let's do some Q&A. Calmly, reasonably, in a chilled fashion. Approach the noise.
While they're lining up too, I can tell you right now, of all the people that work on Cam, their favorite voice is it's Nerf.
Got a question?
Because like whenever we're reading through the scripts, like I tend to try to do voices for everybody, but not everybody will do that. But everybody will do Nerf's voice whenever it comes to one of his lines. Like, so David says this, and then there's
Oh my God, you guys. This is Timothy Brother, and I've got a set for it.
I'm so much fun with that voice.
I don't know. I kind of think Jeremy's a little. I think everyone can do
Jeremy farts.
I'm so sorry. Cool, we'll start over here on my right.
Hey guys, first thanks for doing this panel. This has been really fun so far. My question for you is...
We'll fix that.
My question for you is, you've had to deliver a lot of lines that are difficult either physically or they're hard to get the gravitas of the situation. So my question is for you, from the perspective of a voice actor, what do you do either physically or mentally to get in the state to deliver those difficult lines?
A lot of cigarettes and whiskey. I'm sorry, I was talking about me.
For like physically demanding ones, I'll do, so I actually had nodes in my vocal cords when I was 14, so I went through what I called super puberty. And I had to learn a lot of vocal exercises, and one that helps me a lot is you hum at your absolute like lowest register, your lowest note. Hum so that like on the tip of your nose or your lips kind of like vibrate a little bit, and slowly go all the way up to your very highest pitch. It'll take a few breaths to do it, and then go all the way back down. It kind of stretches it out, and that's how you get David's scream when he gets hit by a bus.
It can be really challenging to do some because you can't move too much, otherwise you're going to rustle with the mic or your clothes are going to shake and it's going to disturb the actual voice recording. But for me, I think the most taxing one was the scream I had to do in Volume 3 when Yang is trying to save Blake from Adam. And she obviously gets something cut off of her body.
Her pinky toe.
But like, I remember Miles and Carrie distinctly saying like, this is literally like the loudest you have to scream. Like, just give it everything. And my face was red, I was sweating, like all my body was tensed up. But for the most part, like I try to get like really loose before a session, just so I shake off any nerves and anything like that. If I'm doing season 4 or 5 Yang, I'm in a hoodie and I kind of look a little more emo, just to get in the mood.
So I was going to say, so make sure we get at least a few questions and we'll do this lightning round the whole way. So.
I just try to put it in my body, and if it's like the emotional stuff, I mean, you just kind of try to have to put yourself mentally in this state of, like, Wash had to do a lot of stuff this year that was like emotionally demanding on it, and I'm just like thinking about all the times people lied to me. I don't know why I went to gym when I said that.
Damn.
It's because I know all your secrets.
Oh, that's true.
I have to do a lot of emotional stuff for Rooster Teeth. But emotional stuff for me, weirdly enough, and this might sound like a jerk, but is one of the things that's easier for me. I've always been an incredibly emotional person, and going there quickly and going there fastly has never been a problem for me. But it still proves to be difficult when the dialogue can catch you off of guard. So sometimes you can be totally prepared, but then you start doing the lines and you get emotional because you get really invested and you're like, oh, like you get a little choked up. So that can be difficult every once in a while as you get a little too like lost in what you're saying if you have something that's really emotionally challenging. But for the most part, I just do a lot of vocal exercises, make sure that my throat is ready. There's this stuff I use called vocal 37 or 7-minute opera singers use it, and it just...
It's steroids.
But it locks our heroin. Coat your throat for long sessions, especially when, I'm doing stuff for DC, I'm usually there for like 4 hours, and you're doing lots of efforts, and I'm doing lots of heartbeats, and lots of like really vocally straining things. And so it's good to just make sure your throat's super lubricated.
In addition to imagination, I've also found that you can actually trick your body into feeling an emotion by replicating what you would do physically.
Yep.
So just kind of like, if you're supposed to be like scared, like starting to do the like, it can actually like bring you into that headspace really quickly. I second that.
I do that as well. It's usually getting into the voice of the character. I'll just do it like on the way to recording. Max is a lot higher pitched. Son is really like me, but like not an asshole. But then the physicality, it's great in the new booth, we have space. I think Max, like there's never a time I don't give a Max line where I'm not fucking pissed off. It has to happen. Garble Man just turns into a piece of shit. And it just really helps.
You're a garbo man?
Well, no, I do an impression.
For any character that I play, I like to find a character's theme song, and I listen to that on the way to the recording. It helps me get into the headspace, and that shifts depending on like the current emotion that the character's in. So like Happy Ruby is like the Lucky Star theme song, or Panty Stocking, like yeah, everything's good. Great shows. Sad Ruby, or Ruby dealing with a lot of crap right now, is Red Leg Roses Part 2, and I'll listen to that and like cry, and then go into the movie. But there is a physicality element that I find for every character too, and it can be small, because you're right, you don't want to like whack the microphone, but you have some room to move around. So for Ruby, like I take off my shoes. When I was just recording for Genlock, because she's piloting during the time, she's usually going to be on headset, so I was like holding my head, like talking to someone, and that really helped me get into the mode.
Yeah, I'm very similar. I do physicality with it, just a slight one, especially when I'm doing the Flower Scouts, because I do them back to back to back. I don't do one character and all the way through, so I pop in and out, because it's easier to remember whose vocal range I'm in at that point, because then they start to kind of sound the same. But I think what's hard, I love doing really physical ones. I love doing efforts. They're like my favorite things to do, because I go for it. It's hard to go when you're like, when you have a really, like with Nora, I have like a lot of high energy, and then when she needs to go serious, when you go from the high energy, just because that's where you are probably in recording for that particular episode, and then you go to an episode it's actually not that, so you have to like shift your brain really fast. I have a little difficulty going into that, but once I'm there, like I'm pretty solid because I used my imagination and physicality to get me there.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, good question. For the rest of these questions, let's try this. Go ahead and just aim your next question at a specific person, or get more specific. Like, this one's just for the guys, the girls, the whatever, and then we can get more questions out there. So from over here, who's your question for?
Ruby Decker again.
One last one. So my question is for people who have characters that have been around for a while, like at least 3+ years. Your characters have withstood the test of time. How does it feel to watch your characters grow and evolve beyond what they originally were in the beginning?
I'm going to be over here.
Changed a bunch.
So I've been doing Wash for 11 years, and yeah. So I've been fortunate. I've looked back and I'm like, oh wait, like. I don't think it's intentional, but I get cast as all these strangely unkillable, immortal soul weirdos for Mr. Heat Productions. So I actually I like to view Wash and the Quartermaster and Austin as all one iteration of a gigantic Rooster Teeth oversoul. Unkillable. But no, anyway, yeah, Wash has gone through the most and is, each season is a different entity, so I just kind of play it as written on the page, and then it's like, oh, he's different, he's grown, he's changed as a person, and that's kind of cool to watch.
Yeah, I'll agree with that for sure. Watching the evolution of Carolina has been so awesome, because when I first started out playing her, she's awesome, but it was sort of like your, one-dimensional, badass, stereotypical, female warrior. And as the years have gone on, we've gotten to see a lot more dimension to her. And last season, I sang in a band with the Reds and Blues. So that's some pretty insane character development.
If a show runs long enough, you always gotta do the musical episode.
Wait till we adopt a skanky little child.
So yeah.
You mean caboose?
It is an joy getting to see Carolina evolve and really become part of the family and not just this outsider. I've loved that. I've loved getting to do that. That's not very often. You don't get to grow with a character often like that. So I feel very, very lucky.
Good question.
Thank you.
Great. Next question.
Hey guys, so to save time, this will be directed at Barbara and Miles. So when you're already established as a character, like John and Yang, and you kind of go over the history and you reach a point where your character has a very significant scene for them personally, like Yang meeting her mom and John confronting Cinder, do you kind of just mentally go over specific details of your character to get in that moment, or are you just more like, go, and you have to just...
It's cheating for me because I wrote that scene. You draw from things that you know and like feelings that you had and and stuff like that. And so yeah, for whether it's acting or writing, I draw from stuff that I can relate to. And like if you've ever been super fucking pissed at somebody, like you can tap into that pretty easily because you never forget what that feels like. And so yeah, for me, a lot of times with acting, I try to I try to understand what the character is going through and see if I have anything even remotely similar to that, just on the emotional range.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the best way to get into character ever is just reading the script and reading it over and over again and watching the episode beforehand or reading the script beforehand to know what the situation is. And these guys do such a great job of being very vivid in the details and the characters, and they're very fleshed out. So with a scene like that with Yang meeting her mom, I feel like it's second nature for me to get into Yang's headspace because I've been with her for 5 years at this point, and I feel like I've known kind of the history of her going through all these emotions. So I just try to put myself in that place as you would do with any acting on camera or voice, and imagine what it would be like in that moment, meeting someone who you have all this anger and abandonment issues with.
And the physicality of it too, like I can't stress that enough, like oh my god, it helps so much, like just clench your fist and just pace back and forth, like you just trick yourself, it helps.
It's also safer.
Yeah.
So a thing that some people talk about that intensely. Emotional recall, while occasionally useful, is super dangerous and can be really dangerous because you get lost. Physical recall tends to be a lot safer, and I know that's what I use most of the time. But just I want to point that out, like emotional recall.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks. Over here.
How do kids get into voice acting?
Oh my god.
You just record yourself doing that and somebody will hire you. I
So we supposed to talk about that before. There's a whole bunch of different ways. Record yourself, put it out there, or go get an agent, or do school plays, or even do voices when you're playing with your friends. That's a great way to get started.
Just don't take the jobs away from us.
Next question.
Okay, so what was a role that was your least favorite or a role that you didn't particularly like being in?
I hated when they asked me to audition for David in Can Can.
Looks at Miles.
I don't think I've ever had a role that I hated or didn't like or yeah. I mean, yeah.
I'm so happy to get work. I mean, it's like
I'll do anything.
Wait, really? I mean, I don't say that you like hated the role or anything, but like something that was not your favorite.
I'm never a fan of commercial work, to be quite honest. Like, I love characters more than going in there and talking about a bed and breakfast or I don't know. Like, it's not as fun, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Also, playing grunt soldiers in video games is really difficult because they're like, okay, we're gonna record like the 50,000 ways you can die in this game. And so you have to like scream death screams for like hours in a row. And they're like, oh, that one sounded too much like the being burned to death scream. Can we get something different for the smashed by a boulder? So, yeah.
Well, that comes from experience.
Yeah, next one.
Hi, this is mostly for Jen, but it's by extension everyone because you've all inspired me. About 3 years ago at my first RTX, I came to this panel and I asked Jen pretty much, how did you get into it? How is it easy to get into here? And you were very honest with me. You told me it was very difficult, but you told me not to give up. And over the last 3 years, I've been trying to hone my craft. It's been hard because I've been dealing with everything else. But over the last year, I've been really working on it, and you have been a huge inspiration with that. I've had an invite to go to New York to audition for a role for a video game. I auditioned for the Star Wars fan film that's it's been buzzing around. I did that, and I also thank you. And I also started my own what I call Audio Ruby, which is we're taking projects from the community, like fan fictions and stuff like that, and having communities audition and do voiceover and dubs and share their art and everything. And I've been bringing, just trying to spread the word at this RTX, and this really wouldn't be possible without all of you deeply inspiring me.
Thanks for coming up. Yeah, good luck with it. I'll tell you what, this is going to be our last question. No pressure.
Speaking of very white ASMR.
Oh my god!
This question is actually aimed at Gray. For anyone that is actually stuck in commercial work and is trying to broaden their range, is there any advice that you can give out of being typecasted?
Oh man, yeah, I guess definitely put together your character reel also. So like depending on how your agent prefers you to submit material, they might just want to if they only have one reel, you should still go ahead and prep your character voice reel anyway. Just have it ready to go, and yeah, just do whatever you can to show some range on that particular reel. And you know, it could either be, if you're still trying to get going, then I'm just go either find some scripts. There's a lot of scripts of currently established cartoons online. Borrow those. Do the voices that you think show off your range, or just even if you can't get your hands on the scripts, go whenever the next time you're watching a cartoon and you're like, I could do that part, then just go ahead and write down whatever that line was and then record you saying it and put that on your demo reel for the next time you caught one. And just yeah, don't be shy. Just keep putting that out there, man. Good luck though.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody who came and on the time today. No, okay, but yeah, they're gonna have a fantastic last couple of hours of RTX 2018.
Now, here's what I want. Is it possible to go up there and get a photo? Hold on, I have to talk to that guy.
I heard the last question.
Going to actually find that guy? Holy shit. I gotta just ask the question, get an answer. What are they doing?
Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you can know when we post our next video. And if you want to play games with us, be sure to hop on our Discord. Links are below and on our website at binarystargaming.com.